What's going on, everybody? This is Cornbeaner. Today is November 14th, 2012, and today I'll be bringing you my review for Assassin's Creed 3. Assassin's Creed 3 starts off with you controlling a character by the name of Haytham Kenway. Haytham's story in the Assassin's Creed 3 game is pretty much an extended prologue to what the main story of Assassin's Creed is. Haytham's purpose in the whole plot of it is to gain access to a ring. This ring is thought to be the key to a very special power that has been found here in New Colonial America during the 1700s. Haytham makes his way across the sea, and you play as him trying to figure out what this ring actually does. Playing through Haytham's part of the game felt kind of flat. I clocked it in about 6 hours, but I got a little bit distracted. I think if you were to kind of go away from that, you can probably complete it in 4. But I do believe that this part of the game is really not necessary. It could have been told in an actual movie during the main part of the game, or at least a few key pre-rendered cutscenes with a lot more heart, and it would have lasted maybe 15 to 20 minutes. But as it stands, this is an extended prologue that you play that will lead you up into playing as the main character, Connor, when he's around age 8. Connor is the love child of Haytham, and while he's in the woods, during his introduction to the story, he has a run-in with Haytham's right-hand man by the name of Charles Lee. After the confrontation, there is a fire in Connor's village. Connor thinks Charles Lee started this, and that kind of sets the wheels in motion for a revenge type story. This story takes place during colonial America during the 1700s, during the Revolutionary War, while the colonies are trying to get their freedom from England. And you know, as you're playing as Connor, as he grows up and you kind of get more in tune with the character, there are a lot of scenarios in this game when you play as Connor through very iconic moments in American history, such as the Boston Tea Party, Paul Revere's first ride, and other battles that took place during that time, as the Battle of Bunker Hill as such. And these moments would have been great, but the story that surrounds them to get to these points is very flat. I always felt that these were kind of like the apex moments of the game, but considering how much time I had to actually lay flat to get to these moments, I just didn't seem to actually like the flow of the story. Outside of the story, the graphics in this game, they're good. They're not great. They're not Uncharted good. They're not Gears of War good, or any type of, I guess, exclusive type game good. But for a multi-platform game, meaning that it was released in the Xbox 360 and the PS3, you know, they are very good. There are a couple issues with the graphics, such as models having clipped through certain objects, and also what we like to call Z-fighting. And Z-fighting is basically when you have two textures almost on the same plane, but they don't have any collision, so they're kind of like battling against each other. And there were a bunch of other little polish blemishes or lack of polish in the graphics that kind of took away from the overall experience. As far as gameplay goes and controls are pretty good. I didn't really find any frustrating moments while platforming through the roofs of Boston or through the trees of the wilderness and other such things. Are pretty much spot on for what you'd expect if you played an Assassin's Creed before this. If you have not, and this is going to be your first foray, it takes a little getting used to, but for the most part, they're pretty good at what they do. There are some legacy issues, such as when you're battling, that you might get stuck in a banister depending on where you're, like if you're fighting near a banister or maybe on a boat, it has the same type of ledge collision or detection. You might get stuck in those during certain battles. Nothing too much to kind of deter from that fact, but they are pretty good. Online was a miss, as when my playthrough was happening, the Ubisoft servers were down. I couldn't really play it. I did play some local multiplayer, and for what I could gather from it, it's there, and it can be a toss-up whether you like it or not. I'm kind of indifferent to it, but it is there. But it's nothing that I can kind of see myself really investing heavily into this, that part of the game. Other key parts in this game is when you actually step out of the Animus being the object which takes you back into these times to explore the world as the assassin, such as Connor. and you're playing as the present day protagonist, who is Desmond Miles. These parts are actually very minuscule when it comes to the grand scheme of the entire game. But these are parts of the game where I feel they did it right. You spend roughly about 15 to 20 minutes, maybe 25 minutes playing these portions out of the Animus as Desmond. And some of the graphics and some of the effects and some of the locations you're taken to are a nice break from the game, from the game's main setting of Revolutionary War colonial times. And I feel like Ubisoft, deserves kudos for actually putting these parts in, and they actually do a nice job of progressing the story in a nice and meaningful way. But as far as the game goes, I'm going to have to give this game a 7.5 out of 10. I really wanted to like this game. When I saw the trailer, I really thought it was going to strike really hard, considering Revolutionary War is like so many powerful movements and so many really strong conveyance of emotions where had been described during these times in the history books that you would think a video game would just capture that. And unfortunately, I feel like this game just felt flat in capturing the whole thing. I clocked in the game at about 22 hours, and in all honesty, like 6 of those hours were in that extended prologue as Hatham, which I felt was completely unnecessary. And without getting distracted by other things such as hunting in this game, building goods, and even building your Assassin's Guild, and 2 of which mainly being the Assassin's Guild and conveying goods, fell flat. They didn't really do anything for the game, and it didn't fit into the flow of what this game was trying to do, and actually went through the whole game without recruiting a single assassin outside of the one that was forced upon me by the story, and without building a single barrel or any type of good that was not forced upon me through a tutorial. So as it stands, the game stands at about, like I said, 22 hours of a regular playthrough minus a few distractions. The game could have easily been 12 hours and would have been a very powerful game had they conveyed this in a really good flowing fashion. But as it stands, it's just too much filler, and it really detracts from the overall thing. Take that with the lack of polish that you will see in the game. Some of the small ones that I'll mention will be, you have the option to buy different assassin suits. I bought a black one. I wore the black one for most of the game once I actually got it. But in the cutscenes that progress the story along, I was dressed in white. And there's these little touches like that that just take away from the overall immersion of the game. As it is, 7.5 out of 10. It's just missing a lot of polish. This game is way too long, but for anybody who is on the fence, if you like Assassin's Creed games, and you can get this game on sale, since here in the United States we're close to Black Friday, if you can get it for that $35 to $40 range, maybe even $45, I would say buy it, because if you go to complete all the side missions planned in this game, and maybe even if you like the multiplayer, you can easily rake in a good 40 to 60 hours of playtime in this game, which will make it a great bargain. But if you haven't played one before, thinking this is the first one, I would say if you really want to buy it, wait for it to go on sale. This game is not worthy of the full $6 price tag. But in the end, I did enjoy my time, but not enough to highly recommend it that much. So I am going to give it a 7.5 out of 10. I hope this has been somewhat helpful for everybody out there. This has been Cornbeaner, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.